Just to record, make sure. Okay, good. All right, awesome. Well, welcome, guys. I'm glad you guys are being on here. This our inaugural run of this webinar, and we're going to record it. So hopefully you guys will get some good stuff out of this today. You know, it's kind of funny. We're all at this point in life, and it's kind of gearing it for guys right around my age group that, you know, maybe at one time you were in pretty good shape. You maybe ran a lot, maybe did sports, maybe hit the gym quite a bit, and then we all know that things happen in life, kids, careers, businesses, and all of a sudden it's kind of like, what the heck happened? And you know, we don't look at all like we used to. And you know, a lot of times people just kind of throw in the white towel and they accept it for what it is, and just say, well, I'm just getting old, I'm getting middle aged, and I just kind of cry BS when it comes to that, because you know, I know plenty of guys that still have pretty good physiques even into their 60s. You know, there's a guy, actually, I used to own a fitness business in California. I used to be in a coaching company with other fitness business owners. This guy still does bodybuilding in his 60s. I mean, if you saw this guy, he looks like he could jump on stage. He still does, you know, runs races, climbs mountains. I mean, so I kind of say it's, you know, it doesn't mean that there's no hope. It just means you need a better plan. And obviously when we're in our 20s, we could eat and train differently, but now we're not. So we have to rethink this thing. So that's why we're on this thing tonight. You know, hopefully you guys will get some good info and some good nuggets out of this. So I'm going to go ahead and get going here. So just make sure, you know, you guys might be on your phone like me, but just try to focus. And if you're on the computer, just turn off your cell phone, try to turn off your notifications. You can take this time to really focus in. I know in this world of technology, a lot of times we get distracted. We're not 100% fully present, but really get the most out of it. Make sure you get your workbook out. Be totally focused. This is about you guys taking a little bit of time for yourselves. I know as parents and, you know, business owners, and, you know, a lot of times we don't have time for ourselves, but I want you guys to really take this time and use it for yourselves. So I just want to make sure it sounds like you guys, and, you know, maybe you guys were once in good shape. You look at pictures of yourself and you're like, WTF happened, you know, or, you know, you get to the gym and you feel like if you do go to the gym, it's kind of half-assed or rushed. You know, you kind of do I always call it the typical beach muscle workout. You do some chest presses, some bicep curls, jump on the treadmill and call it a day. And that's it. And that's kind of the way it goes, or you wander around like a rudderless ship, and you can't stick to anything. You've tried a lot of things. You just try to go and nothing seems to stick. You never seem to see results or get into it, and you kind of end up quitting. So if that sounds like you know, type a thumbs up, or that's me in the box if any of these things sound familiar. And if it sounds like you know, and this is kind of like what I feel like sometimes, even though I work in the fitness industry, you're in the right place, because sometimes we just kind of go through the motions in life, and this is about not going through the motions anymore and giving you stuff that's going to make your time in the gym effective. Because, you know, we all have such little time, so what we do in our time, we want to make it as effective as possible. You know, get the best ROI on our time in the gym. So and with our nutrition as well. So I'm going to do a little fast action bonus. If you stay till the end, I got a Wolverine workout program that I put together. I just have a real easy landing site. You can go download the PDF of this. It's a simple workout you can take into pretty much any gym and do. But it's effective and it's short, and it gets the job done and gets the metabolism going again. And I can't promise you're going to look like Hugh Jackman here, but it is a good program. It's one that we use a lot in our studio, and it's different probably than anything you've ever done. So stick around to the end. So kind of what I want to talk about tonight is what we're going to cover is you know, none of us here are, you might want to get your workbooks out here, but, you know, a lot of these programs that we see in magazines and stuff are written by bodybuilders whose job is to eat and train. And a lot of times they have other, and I'll just quote unquote, enhancements to help them get the results they are. So not very realistic for this average guys like you and I that, you know, work full time, have family commitments and other obligations, that don't have any time or energy to train and eat right. So really kind of doing Mr. Steroid guy's program in the magazine is not going to be effective for the average Joes like us. So we have to look at it different. So the first area we want to cover, and this kind of flips over on its head, because a lot of times what do we start with? We start with, well, I got to get in shape. I should start doing cardio, or I should start running. And I put this at the top. But the foundation of it all is going to be mindset. You really want to focus on our mindset, because this controls everything. Without dealing with this, we're never going to be able to have the long-term success that we desire. And most programs don't even talk about this. But I think this is the foundation, really, of all positive action. That's kind of point number one in the workbook. is you got to get yourself really focused. And I'm going to tell a story here in a sec about how I learned how mindset was really important. The second area is nutrition, because it's an all-day focus. We get our workouts done, and we can check that off, but we have to focus on this throughout the day. If done right, consistently, it can have drug-like effects. And I'll be the first guy to admit, back in my 20s when I was kind of young and dumb, was young and dumb, I should say, I did mess around with anabolic steroids, and I did see changes in my body. They do work, but the most change I ever saw was when I really got serious about my nutrition. It was crazy how week to week I could see changes in my body. So really making sure that we're dialing in on nutrition, and that doesn't mean you got to eat like a bodybuilder, but there's things you can learn from that to help you get in better shape. The third area is strength training. I think if you don't have time to train, there's a way to do strength training that's should be done. And this should be a higher priority than cardio. So if you're filling in the blanks, if you're a blank filler runner like me, because it does have the biggest impact on your metabolism and your hormones. The more muscle you have, the better metabolism works. And finally, we need to address cardio. Most guys kind of just revert to the easy, the comfortable, steady state cardio. They kind of like creatures of habit. We end up doing what's comfortable and easy, like a recumbent bike, an elliptical, where we can kind of read the paper or watch TV, and really and try to avoid things that are high intensity. But really, a combination of the both is what I feel is the most effective. Is trying to really kind of have some yin and some yang. You don't want to go high intensity all the time, but you definitely don't want to be working out in the quote unquote fat burning zone that a lot of people talk about either all the time. You got to really do a little bit of both to get the best effect. So I'll tell you a little bit about my story. I always kind of include a story in here because I think really my background, how to get in the fitness industry, was kind of a weird way. I came in. I went to Mankato State, and I thought I was going to be in computers, but I ended up coming out with a recreation, park, and leisure fitness degree, kind of almost like a double major. So it all started. Probably one of the big turning points in my life was one day I called my coach and left a message. I was done with college football, and I called my parents, and I felt like the biggest loser because I told them I was quitting football in college. At the time I didn't think I was a quitter, but I was pretty tired of chasing my dream, and maybe it was just time to throw in the towel. And really my dream was to play college football after I had a disappointing year in my senior year of high school where we started out 4-1. We're game of the week on Channel 11, and we go on to proceed to lose 5 straight games because half my team thought partying and drinking was more important than winning games. So fast forward, after my last high school game, I didn't want to end football like that. I had no idea I was going to go on and play college football, but I had a new dream start to emerge, and that was to play Division II football where I could earn a scholarship, an athletic scholarship, and then be a starter. But I picked Mankato State. I liked the town, liked the college. Was in arguably the toughest Division II football conference in the country, and it made it even more of a challenge since I was undersized and not even recruited. So I had to walk on, which if you know what walking on means, basically you show up and say I want to be on the team, and you become cannon fodder for the older and bigger players to practice hitting and beating on. But I wanted to go for something big, and this was kind of a big, hairy, audacious goal, and I had a new dream to be a starter and earn a scholarship. So my dream kind of began with me diving head first, kind of working out like crazy, dialing into practice, regimen, the whole football lifestyle. I just kind of ate it up along with the college lifestyle. Did extra, and I still remember one night I was doing extra above and beyond the team workouts. I was out in the rain running with these goofy strength shoes to help me increase my vertical, my 40 time. Had my boombox going, had the tunes going, back in the early 90s. But I remember thinking about that moment, like I really believed I could make my goal, and I was really committed. I could see it clear as a vision. But the day I called that coach, I really had, really literally had enough. I had endured countless brutal practices where I took massive amounts of physical punishment and humiliation, where like the coaches would have us walk on to lay on the ground and be dummies to run over, and watched as my roommates would go out fishing and hanging out at the beach as I trudged up the hill to workouts. And then my position coach at the time showed a lot of favoritism to guys that were not, frankly, they're pretty lazy and they played poorly at times, but they kept their starting positions and never really gave us a chance. And it was really frustrating, outworking scholarship players and even outplaying them in practice, and just felt like no matter what you do, I never felt like I got a chance. And I'm sure you guys can relate to that maybe in some area of your life. But I finally hit the wall and called my coach and told him I was going to be there. But then as I really thought it through, I had an epiphany. I realized I only had a few weeks left to spring football, which in college we do spring football. And I could really showcase my skills, and I made a deal with myself to keep going through spring football. And if nothing changed then, I'd be done. And at least I gave it my all, and I at least made it through spring football. So when the smoke cleared, I got done with spring football, and I was called up to my coach's office, and I thought, oh, here's where I'm going to be. I just didn't expect anything good, and all of a sudden I was offered a scholarship, and that was one of my goals. And it was like, wow, goal number one accomplished just like that. And then fast forward into the following year, I had a new coach come in. Our old coach was left, the one that did a lot of favoritism, and new coach, Coach Musk, did away with favoritism, and he was an undersized offensive lineman in college, played the same position I did, and he's a new sheriff in town. He taught me and he guided me how to be a good player, even if I was undersized. He gave me great coaching on footwork and techniques, as well as a few little quote-unquote dirty tricks that were effective against bigger opponents. And he really taught me about taking pride and attitude. And when my job as an offensive lineman, as we know, is not the most glamorous job, but he made the position fun, and he made it. He put a lot of pride behind it, which was really awesome. So he spoke a lot of life and encouragement and gave me confidence, which turns out I was going to need. As my friend, a very talented player that was playing in front of me, went down with a knee injury early in the season, the first play of the game. He was on the kick return team, and he blew his knee out, and he was done, and we were against one of the top teams in the country. So I came out there, I was thrust into action, and couldn't really think about it, and I played out of my mind that day, and from then on I was a starter, even all the way through my senior year. My friend couldn't get his position back for me, and I think about that journey because along the way there was players and coaches that, people along the way, just like in life, that made derogatory comments and didn't believe in me. One senior even told me that he, in basically so many words, I didn't deserve to start because I was a junior and he was a senior. And I let him just rant on, biting my lip, because he spent his summers drinking beer and getting fat and out of shape while I worked my butt off, and I wasn't going to buy what he was selling. So, and then right before my senior year, my girlfriend at the time, serious girlfriend, broke up, told me she had another guy and didn't want to, she'd been cheating on me and she was going to go with this other guy, but she didn't want to ruin my senior season. But because my vision was so strong and because I had worked so hard and so long, that I just told her, you know what, this sucks, but you know what, I'm going to move on because I've worked too hard too long, and I'm not going to let this affect my season. And I kept going even after that. And and in college at the time, that's the end of the world when your girlfriend breaks up with you. But my vision and my purpose were so strong for this. And my last game was at Nebraska Omaha. We finished off beating them 54-7, and on the way home I was sad because it was over, but I also felt a really big sense of pride that I had seen everything through that I had set out to do, be a starter and earn a scholarship, even though I had a lot of trials and tribulations. And I share this experience because I learned a lot of things from it. Experience has been probably the number one thing that shaped my life going forward. And the three most important things I learned from this whole experience is, hard work and discipline are going to beat talent or genetics any day. And I think any guy, no matter what he's facing, just like I kind of say, I was facing being undersized, under-recruited, being a blocking dummy. And I realized that because I persevered and I stuck it out, even when I wanted to quit, I really ended up having a great experience. And it was the growth and character that really came out of that. And then having a well-defined, clear vision will keep you on course. So every time I wanted to quit and everything, I could see myself running out on the field as a starter. And I could be out there on Saturdays, and I said, man, I'd love to hear him call my name. I'd love to be out there playing. I could see it every Saturday, and I wanted to be out there, and I knew I could be out there. And then to have success, you need a good guide or coach. I couldn't have definitely done it without Coach Musk and him teaching me how to play the position I played well. And I think any tough thing, you need a coach along the way. A lot of us want to do certain things. We just don't know how to do it. And a lot of times we just do a lot of trial and error. So, to this day, I get back to that experience at Mankato and realize that is how I made it through tough situations. And whenever I'm facing something, whether it's a business owner, a dad, a husband, or with relationships or friendships, anything in my life, I go back to that experience. It's carried me forward, and it's helped me to remain disciplined. And, I feel like, if I can do this, anybody can do it. I think I was definitely, that really taught me a lot about life. Is whatever you do, there's going to be trials and tribulations, but you can move forward. And with the right plan and the right person helping you can implement the plan, you can definitely break through. And that's kind of maybe where I see some guys at today, where they've kind of about ready to give up. And I want to be that Coach Musk for them and help kind of bring some encouragement, show them how to get in shape. And that picture on the right, I don't like to show off my body. I guess I'm pretty modest that way, but I like to show people I know what I'm talking about. I'm a product of my product. That's a physique show I did a few years back in my 40s. So I can do this stuff. There's a lot of people out there that talk a lot of book smarts and things like that, but don't really practice what they preach. So I practice what I preach. I know the science, I know everything behind it, but I can also use myself as a guinea pig, I guess is a good way to put it. So that's my story in a nutshell. A few things about Pure Vita Fitness, my business. We were voted the top personal training by the Reader's Choice Awards. That's our local newspaper, votes on the South Metro Twin Cities area, votes on the top businesses in the area. We've been top personal training business 4 years in a row. We're also accredited by the BBB, which means we have nobody complaining about us that we have a AA rating with the BBB. And also Lakeview Bank, who's a local bank in Lakeville, has a legacy award. We won that last year, which is a huge honor in Lakeville. And Lakeville's about 60, 70,000 people. And they vote on the business that exemplifies strong core values in the community, and we won that award. So it's a big honor. So, not just doing that, but doing business right and treating people right is important to me too as a business owner. So enough about me. We're going to talk tonight. What we're here to talk about is how we're going to help you guys move forward. So we're going to move forward with just a quick, if anyone wants to type in the box, I know there's only 2 of you tonight, but what did you show up for tonight? Is there a magic bullet or a yellow brick road that you were looking for tonight? If anybody wants to share something here, it gives me a chance to stop and just gather my thoughts and shut my app for a minute. So I'm just going to take a second and see if anybody wants to type anything in, why you showed up here tonight. All right, nobody's got anything? All right, so we're moving forward then. All right, I guess you guys are just expecting this. Oh, Randy got some. Sorry, I want to refocus my energies. And, I know I used to work with you, Randy, so I know you got it in you to do this. We actually did a bodybuilding show together years ago. So, you know as well as I do, the right plan is key to this thing. So it's just getting a new plan, and we're at a new phase of life, so we need a plan that fits that phase of life. So I'm going to talk about dad bod problem number 1 is driving into the fitness fog. Over and over again, is guys typically don't. A lot of people will have a really clear vision in certain areas of their life, like maybe they have business goals or financial goals, or even like planning a family vacation. We do a really good job of really dialing that into the last detail, but we don't really dial in really well where we want to go. And it's kind of like we're driving in a fog. And I mentioned those guys that go into the gym and just kind of wander around. And, I've been that guy sometimes where sometimes I need a goal to really work towards something. That's why I do physique shows and powerlifting meets and things like that, because it helps me focus my time in the gym towards something, an end result. And, I mentioned my football thing. When I had those 2 specific goals, man, I just, even though I was kind of like I got off course, it was like a GPS. I got rerouted back onto those goals. So we need to really, we're driving in the fitness fog. That's we're on problem number 1. And most guys really haven't defined their purpose. What's your power why? What's going to get you out of bed early in the morning to get to the gym? What's going to make you say no to that tempting dessert or that, that good looking frosty beer that you'd like to drink, but you probably shouldn't? What is that going to be? And only you can define what that is. What's the purpose behind it? And, everybody wants to look good. Let's admit there's some vanity in all of us, but we don't want that to be the primary. We want to go a little bit deeper than that. And so having a good, strong purpose of why you want to get in shape is really going to carry you forward. That's what's going to make you say yes when you want to say no, and that's what's going to make you show up when you want to stay in bed. Number 2 is going to be goals: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant meaning that they're going to tie into other areas of your life, and then timely. So we got to have those SMART goals, have something really well written out. There's been study after study that's shown when you write your goals out, you have a way higher chance of success. So you got to define, if you want to get in shape, what does that mean to you? Is it a body fat percentage? Is it, completing an event? Or, like one of our clients did Kilimanjaro, which is awesome. He did a Kilimanjaro hike. And that was his training plan, that was his big goal, was to get to Kilimanjaro. So, whatever that is, you got to define what in shape is, because it means different things to different people. And then your commitment, are you at least on a scale of 1 to 10 an 8? If you're not at least an 8, you got to kind of rethink what's going to get me to an 8, because a lot of people are a 5. And, when I get people in for a consult and they tell me they're a 5, I'm like, what are you even doing here? Because, if you're not really serious about putting some time and effort into something, you shouldn't even start. You have to focus, and you have to be willing to put some good, solid effort into something. And I always kind of think of it as kind of that poker term, all in. If you're not all in, you're not going to get good results, and you just reinforce, like a lot of people, that I can't do this, I'm a failure, nothing works. but you really have to put your focus in and decide that you're going to be all in. Nobody I ever think that's honest says they're a 10 out of 10, but you should be at least an 8. And one of the ways I like to attack this is to really to create a Rainmaker binder. I have this blue binder, and you can see it's kind of beat up. But what I did is I have in here, I have my long-term goals, which are my 90-day goals. I don't like to do year goals because so much changes in a year. I found that setting I have definitely like a yearly goal, but I like to work goals in 90 days. Short-term goal, that's my monthly goal. And then I have big rocks. Big rocks are things that are big steps I need to take to move towards my goals. That's action steps. Are the big rocks I need to get done, or they're weekly goals that have to happen, or daily goals that have to happen to get me towards my goal. And then there's non-negotiables, and non-negotiables are things that need to happen in order for me to be my best self. So like for me, I get up in the morning, I do mindset and spiritual time, some prayer, I read some scripture, I do some meditating, I do some journaling, I read some passages, I get my mind dialed in, and then I go to the gym. Those are two of my non-negotiables. My third one is family time, to spend at least an hour with my family every night, minimum of an hour, and not working all the time, which is easy to do if you own a business. And then action steps are just what they are. And I like to put these in a order of what's the most important to the least important, and try to work these in an order every day, so I can prioritize these action steps and do the hardest things earlier in the day when I have more energy and there's less chance of them getting pushed off or procrastinated. So I would recommend you'll want to create a binder with a page with weekly goals. So like your 3 big rocks for the week, and then having a page where you block time to when you're going to work on those weekly goals, and then 6 days of daily goals. And each of those pages has the top 3 things you want to accomplish for the day, and then the action steps you're going to do. And then I would list your 3 non-negotiables, and those will be different for everybody. But I told you mine, and those are things that those are part of my daily routine, and they're important because there's, it says in the Bible, what good does it do to gain the whole world but lose your soul? You can pursue a goal, but if a goal becomes kind of too important where it's to you, where you start to neglect your family and other important things in life, then it's not really a good quality goal. So getting a journal, something like this, visible, is really key for me, because it helps me focus not just on the fitness part, but the grand scheme of life. So that's number 1. Number 2 is going to be low testosterone. This is something I started to deal with in my late 30s. Is I actually had a friend that turned me on to this, why I was so unmotivated, why I had no energy, something was off, and lo and behold, I got my testosterone tested. It was really low, and I ended up going on testosterone therapy. But now I've learned a few things that's not necessarily the best step you need to take. There's other things you can do. So if you're on your workbook, we're on problem number 2, so low testosterone, and there are many lifestyle factors that affect hormones. And so our repair strategy is going to be these are some things that are actually work, because I've actually got my testosterone therapy down. I've actually cut it in half by doing these things. So number 1, I'm pretty good at doing, because I'm a personal trainer, vigorous exercise. And that means get that heart rate up, huff and puff, sweat, high intensity work 3 to 4 times a week. Eliminate your consumption of, and that should say from, my spell check obviously thinks it's from, but from plastics that have, unless they're BPA free, but I've really kind of switched over. My water bottles are all either metal or glass, and I only cook in glass and never heat up plastics, because BPAs are chemicals that when they get into your system, they actually drive up your estrogen levels. And when your estrogen levels go high, guess what? Levels go down, your testosterone. Same thing when you're consuming soy and flax. So if you're grabbing like protein bars and food, quick, easy food, a lot of stuff, you're going to see soy in there. You won't see as much flax. Start to pay attention if you're running into Holiday or some of the convenience stores and you see soy, you want to avoid that, because soy actually another thing that'll raise estrogen in your body. Reduce or minimize alcohol consumption. This is a big one. I did a seminar last night at the studio and we talked about this. This is big for men and women, but I think even more so for guys, because when we drink alcohol, the liver aromatizes it into estrogen, increasing once again estrogen levels, which lowers testosterone. And then good fats, especially good saturated fats from like grass-fed beef, egg yolks, salmon. So those type of fats, plus the other good fats like you get in peanut butter, nuts, avocados, help your body produce hormones, i.e. testosterone, important hormones like testosterone. So eating some good fat in your diet is really, really important to helping get your testosterone up as well. A lot of back in the 90s, the low-fat diet was real popular, and I tried to do that, just cut all my fat one time, and I about crashed and fell on my face. So we do need fat, and this is one of the big reasons we need it. And then work on getting a quality 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night, because when we get into those later stages of sleep, that's when our body is going to actually reduce testosterone and human growth hormones. So we're talking about testosterone here, but also human growth hormones, another important player in terms of getting a lean, more muscular body. So if we're cutting our sleep short, that's not going to be good. I'm going to address this a little bit further. There's one I didn't put on here that I did do that I think is really important, is to start looking at getting more of a natural deodorant. A lot of deodorants that we use have a lot of chemicals in them, and trying to really reduce the chemical load on your body is important. So I know I switched myself to a natural one that I had to actually go get it at the co-op. Most general food stores don't have natural deodorants. They're a little bit harder to find, and you got to play around with them a little bit because some of them, frankly, don't work good, but that's another thing you can do. But I can tell you my testosterone levels were at 2,200 free testosterone, and I had them measured. I wanted to be at 800, so I have to back them down a little bit. So, and that was just the only thing I changed was these things I just talked about, other than the exercise, which I always do. But those are some good lifestyle things that you can do to get that natural testosterone production up before just going on testosterone therapy, which can be a real pain in the butt, just frankly, because you have to get it all approved through medical. And so I would try the natural means first before going that route. All right, we're moving to problem number 3 in your workbook. And I'm not gonna mince words here. Is it's a shitty diet, and I don't like to cuss, but sometimes I like to use it to get my point across. You can't outwork a bad diet, and you have to deal with your nutrition. So crappy nutrition is going to be the next one. And there's things that we include here. Is number 1 is spiking your blood sugar. Number 2 is no prep or planning, and then number 3 being deficient in nutrients. The reality is that we need to look at doing something long-term and sustainable. I always like the term maximum sustained effort, something you can work hard at, but you can maintain that pace. Kind of like if you're running a marathon, you can't maintain a 6-minute mile pace, but you could maybe maintain a 9-minute mile pace and go for the long term. So you got to find what that pace is and do that rather than a quick fix. Quick fixes never work. Typically, you're going to starve off muscle tissue, which is going to kill your metabolism, which is going to make you gain back more fat. So nutrition, I'm always big about creating a mild deficit and trying to exercise more and kick up your metabolism, let your body burn the fat off versus starve it off. And I know I talked about this last end of seminar, no different for the guys, but a lot of times we just try to do starvation diets and we'll lose weight, but we typically lose a lot of muscle, making us look skinny fat. So 3 ways to keep this area in check with nutrition. And there's a lot of other nutrition things, but I think there are 3 key things you can do to really get big results. So number 1 is minimizing blood sugar spikes. This is a big rock most people don't understand, but when I spike my blood sugar, what I do is my body releases a lot of the hormone insulin. And when I have too much insulin in the system, not only am I adding, I'm going to add more body fat, especially around the midsection. That's where we get the love handles and the gut. But also it's going to put me at a risk for type 2 diabetes. And so we don't want to get that because that can kind of be a slippery slope into cardiovascular disease. So making sure that every meal we're trying to have some protein. And I always say like at least close to equal the amounts of protein as you do carbohydrates. Or for guys, an individual is 2 scooped handfuls of carbs, dense carbs like fruit, rice, potatoes, some of those carbs that have actual calories that, not vegetables, which really don't have any calories, and 2 palm-sized servings of protein. And so, we want to make sure we're balancing protein and carbohydrates. And the carbohydrates we usually want to be whole foods. Instead of having the instant potatoes or French fries, we're doing, sweet potato and actually cooking it up. Or instead of Uncle Ben's minute rice, we're doing, something that's a wild rice that cooks longer. So if it cooks longer and it's a little more and it's more natural, it has like 1 ingredient on the thing, that's going to be a better carbohydrate to use. It's really that simple. Too often the other thing we do is we eat fast, so slowing down our eating. So we want things to be slow. And when they're slow and steady and they're mixed with some protein and even some good fats and fiber, our blood sugar is going to stay much more stable. Our insulin levels are going to be lower. And hormonally, that puts us in a better environment to burn body fat. But too often we eat on the go, we eat processed foods, we eat things that are really easy and quick, crackers, chips, those type of things, pretzels. Those type of things we eat that are really quick and never really satisfy it are notorious for spiking our blood sugar. Think about white rice, what do they say about Chinese food? You're hungry an hour later. Think about those things that you eat, and you typically just keep eating. Those are usually the things that are just going to spike your blood sugar. So we have to pay attention to when we eat things and balance our meals more. So we're eating like I said, protein in every meal equal to where your carbohydrates are. Fix it is prepping and planning. This is a really easy step. Most people, have a good general idea of probably what's somewhat healthy and what's not. I mean, there are some food labeling tricks, but getting to the store, it's just one of those things. It's a discipline that I would really encourage you to get. I know we make a Costco run typically every week, and then we'll do Cub for some of the smaller ingredients. But cooking up food and planning your meals, yeah, it's a little bit more work, but the majority of the country is overweight. So if you do what the majority does, you'll be overweight. But if you do what the majority doesn't do, you're going to look better and feel better. And so getting to the store, buying some good lean protein, some vegetables, some good carbohydrates, planning out some meals, cooking things up for the week so you're not always eating out for lunch or eating on the run is important. And it's like if you fail at playing, you plan to fail. And a lot of people just totally discount that. And going to Wendy's and getting a salad or, going to Subway, some of these quote unquote healthier fast foods is not going to get it done. I'm just going to tell you that right now. There's still a lot of calories and things in the sauces they use. It's not ideal. Every once in a while, it's a good backup plan B. But if you really want to see your body change, you're gonna take charge and cook a lot of your own food. I know sometimes people have to meet clients for lunch and things like that, and you can do well with doing a salad with some extra protein, get some vinaigrette dressing on the side. And a lot of the places have healthier menus, but I just wouldn't make that a staple. And honestly, it would be more. I want to tell you guys stuff that really works. So that a proactive mindset is going to be crucial to you. So prep and plan weekly to tackle this issue. Number 3, core supplementation. Most people are going to be deficient in one or more nutrients. The RDAs are there to stop scurvy and rickets. They're not the optimal amounts. And, we want to get most of our vitamins and minerals and cofactors and things like that from food. But we're still going to end up deficient. Most of us aren't eating good 7 to 11 servings of fruits and vegetables per week. So by utilizing core supplementation, this is point number 3 if you're a follower along it. Because most people are deficient in one or more nutrients, will ensure you have all your vitamins, minerals, and optimal doses. And this is important because basically these things function like spark plugs for your metabolism. And I have Omegaplex, which is one of our products we sell, but it's omega-3 fatty acids. And really getting these in there because these will help balance your hormones. These work with a good diet, and they also help reduce inflammation in your body and control blood sugar. So they help work with the food that you're eating in. Much like spark plugs don't run the car, but they help the engine run better. And that's just an easy way of looking at these things. So I would look at getting a good USP, at least multivitamin, multimineral, and an omega-3 just as a good foundational supplement. We're not talking cuckoo berry root or something that Dr. Oz is peddling, but just some basic supplementation on top of good, consistent nutrition. So going to number 4. Number 4 is going to be the wussification of workouts. I always hear people use the "I'm too old to work out hard" or "I need to take it easy." But the problem is by wussy workouts you get wussy results. I mean, it's as simple as that. And I don't mean you need to blow it up and max out do your bench and squat maxes at workouts, but a lot of guys kind of the wimpiness of workouts is barrier number 4, and we get to the point where we start kind of doing the easy movements because they're easy and they're comfortable, and we got to make ourselves a little uncomfortable if we're going to make progress. So effective training is going to utilize big movements to release important hormones like testosterone and growth hormone. I'm going to give you some examples of those here coming up in a few slides. But aggressive strength training with progressions, and progression means that we're improving every workout. That means, and I'll show you an example of a training journal, but that we're actually changing the amount of weight we're lifting or the amount of reps or something every workout, so our body's adapting. And doing, instead of like a leg press machine or a leg extension, we're doing squats, we're doing deadlifts, we're doing the big movements. Now, it doesn't mean you got to load your bar on your back. Some people can't do that because of back injuries, but you can still do squats with a kettlebell. You can do front squats. You can do split squats with one leg at a time. A lot of guys kind of wean you out on the legs, and these are the big movements that help release those important hormones like testosterone and growth hormone. But also, when you do those compound movements in a circuit format with like little or no rest, drive up some key fat-burning hormones, adrenaline and noradrenaline, which help your body pull fat from storage and use it up for energy. You also create an afterburn effect, meaning that after the workout, you're going to have an elevated metabolism. It's going to be revved up much higher than if you just did the traditional wimpy cardio workout. So my recommendation for guys is to do Three of those, 3 strength workouts a week, total body for busy guys, on non-consecutive days, giving yourself a rest or a wild card day in between. And then for cardio, I like incorporating high intensity into the end of the workouts as metabolic finishers, because most guys are busy and don't have time maybe to do cardio on separate days. So these things, the trade-off is, I'll tell you what, they're butt kickers. At the end of the workout, you do something, it might be like a Tabata format where you do 20 seconds of kettlebell swings as hard as you can, rest 10 seconds, 20 seconds of kettlebell swings as hard as you can, rest 10 seconds. It could be a complex where you're taking a bar and you're starting out doing a deadlift, then you're going to a row, then you're going to a front squat, do an overhead press, you're not letting go of the bar. These are just common things that we do for finishers. They jack your heart rate up. They're hard. You couldn't do them much more than 5-10 minutes, but they're good to throw in it in the workout to get some conditioning. Kind of like when we were in sports at the end of practice, we did some conditioning, and it was usually really hard. Same format here, but this will actually rev up that metabolism and get those fat burning hormones going. And then I kind of leave if you have extra time on the non-lifting days, you can do a steady state cardio. It doesn't necessarily have steady state cardio doesn't necessarily have to be on a machine. We got some beautiful weather now, so it could be just going on a walk with your wife. It could be going biking with your kids, but just staying active. I know getting a Fitbit, maybe just trying to get 10,000 steps a day, and just being active on those non-lifting days is important too. So you don't just sit in the desk the whole time, but I kind of let people to go a little bit lighter. So you're kind of looking at 3 to 4 heavy, hard workouts a week. And then you're having if you're active every day, you can do 2 to 3 lighter, kind of milder workouts. I wouldn't go out and run a marathon. I'm not a big fan of doing a lot of extra cardio, but if you want to do a 3-mile jog for, on the off days, that's totally fine. I just wouldn't overdo it on the cardio, because sometimes if you do too much cardio, you can start to starve off muscle. But if you do lower intensity things like walking, you can go for a longer period. But if you're doing lower intensity cardio, I would definitely look at, if you're doing like moderate cardio, you'll definitely look at trying to keep it right around maybe 30 minutes, 45 minutes tops. So just make sure you're tracking your workouts too, that you're always improving your sets and reps. So for an example, if I'm squatting 200 pounds for 3 sets of 8, the next workout I might do 3 sets of 10 at 200 pounds. The next workout I might do 3 sets of 12 at 200 pounds. And then the workout after that, I might move it up to 220 pounds and start back at 3 sets of 8. But that's an example of progressive, progressive overload, we call it, where you're always doing something better every workout. But I would set a goal to improve at least on 1 exercise per workout, and get a notebook. As simple as that. If you're a spreadsheet person, make a spreadsheet, but have some way to track your workouts to make sure you're not just kind of guessing on your weights. Because it doesn't make any sense if you go in and do 3 sets of 8 at 200 one workout and you forget what you used and you do 185 for the next workout. You just can't really remember it in your mind. So, and I think writing it down, you kind of look at that last workout and say, okay, I need to get a little bit better today. And here's a quick sample way to break up your strength training. I know, Randy, we talked and you were interested in just some strength workouts. I like to do things. This is how I like to lay things out in a lot of my workouts. Is I usually pick a vertical pull. So pull-ups or lateral pull-downs are really basically 2 options there. A vertical push, military press, overhead press, any type of overhead pressing movement, and then a quad dominant, which is going to be more your squats, lunges, or step-ups. And you could do those 3 of those in a circuit. We're moving from exercise to exercise with maybe 0 to 45 seconds rest between. The next circuit could be a hip hinge where you're doing some type of deadlift. It could be a Romanian deadlift or a regular deadlift, or good morning, some type of hip dominant movement that kind of targets more your glutes and hamstrings, especially important if you sit at a desk. And then maybe the next exercise, the horizontal push, is chest press or push-ups. And then horizontal pull is rows or reverse flies, and then you could finish with some loaded carriers like a prowler, sled, farmer's walks, where you're carrying some heavy weight or pushing or pulling or carrying heavy weight for distance. And that's a great way to get your heart rate up and train all the muscle in your body. I like to use a lot of times those in conjunction with core training, but those are some easy circuits. You could do 3 rounds of each circuit or 3 sets per exercise, 12 reps each. It's just a really easy way to lay that out. And that's a lot of times when I'm putting together a program for a client, I always look at having these categories all covered. And so one way a lot of strength coaches will do that instead of doing the old body part splits. This will hit every muscle in your body, and it's a great way for fat loss. All right, moving on to problem number 5. I got to talk about it again. I talked about it last night at my seminar last night, but frequent alcohol consumption. Once again, if you're following along, alcohol consumption drives up estrogen levels, making the body store more fat. in areas we don't want, and it also lowers our testosterone levels, exactly what we don't want if we're trying to get lean. And so it decreases, or it also, the calories kind of, in a sense, they butt in line and prevent you from burning carbs and fats. If you drink a lot of alcohol, your alcohol absorbs quicker than carbs and fats, so guess what just gets burned up first? Alcohol. And it decreases your inhibition. I don't know too many of us that have made good decisions when we're drinking. It typically makes us make poor lifestyle choices, and really, what kind of goes with beer? You're not seeing somebody eat beer and vegetables, usually beer and junk food go hand in hand. I don't know most bars I know don't really have the healthiest food. So I would say a good lifelong strategy is, if you like a few drinks, is to really keep it to once a week, and then only having a few drinks. If you're having a few drinks every night, you're kind of putting you're turning off the fat burning switch in your body every night. So your body's never going to get any kind of traction or energy moving towards that goal. So you're better just to keep it to one night and really kind of keep it to a minimum. And I find that most people, when they do this, they stay, when they start feeling better and looking better, they kind of naturally start to regulate these things, but it's just something like a lot of people hang on to these sacred cows or these strongholds of, I got to have my beers every night. You don't got to have it. You just have to decide what's more important, having the beers or getting yourself healthier and looking better. What's more important to you? So, I kind of, I hear probably one of my pet peeves, and I'll go on my soapbox here for a sec, is people that brag about drinking. Anybody can drink, but how many people can get fit? Because getting fit takes discipline and effort. Being a drinker really doesn't. But you'll hear people actually brag about this still, even in our 40s and 50s. So I would just say if this is something you do, this could be a big rock for you. I've seen people, just as one thing, we had a client get it down from 5 or 6 nights a week down to 2 nights a week, and he dropped, I think it was 15 or 20 pounds, just like that, just by changing this one thing. This is typically a big rock for a lot of people that I've seen when it comes to getting their body to drop weight. So moving to number 6, mistake number 6, we talk about diet and exercise a lot, but we got to talk about sleep and stress, especially at the area we're at. We're working long hours. We got a lot on our plates. So we not addressing sleep and stress, not trying to work through and push through, is just not a good long-term strategy, because if we don't sleep, it suppresses growth hormone and testosterone, but it also raises cortisol levels. Cortisol is a stress hormone. We don't want it in too high of levels, because it basically will take our muscles and make them into sugar. And when we have high cortisol, basically we can't build muscle and we can't burn fat. It shuts everything else down. All our other hormones get basically kind of put on the waiting line. And then ghrelin, which is our I'm hungry hormone. So when we don't sleep, we raise ghrelin, which is the hormone that tells us we're hungry. So if we have more of these hormones, we're going to eat more calories, and it's going to kill our body's ability to burn fat. Now, stress, guys, where a lot of us are wired like type A, we raise cortisol, which is, like I said, going to block fat burning. And we basically have the two systems in our body. We have parasympathetic, which is our rest and digest, which is when we're mellowed out, we're focused, we're kind of relaxed. And we have fight or flight, which is our sympathetic. And our sympathetic, or our fight or flight, we're supposed to be for short-term things like workouts, running from something or fighting with something, And so it was designed for short-term energy, but a lot of times we spend way too much time in there. We're running from thing to thing. We're stressed out. We're jamming a bunch of extra caffeine in our body. And we're in this fight or flight constantly, so it's going to raise up that cortisol level. So, the 3 things I really recommend you get in place is improve your sleep routine. So, start turning off the gadgets and the technology about an hour before bed. Start to read, get into some type of a routine, and then make sure you stick to that routine. Try not to vary too much on the weekends. And then find some mellow out strategies. So, like, I like to put 10-minute, some relaxation or meditation things in. Sometimes if I'm feeling really amped up, sometimes I like to take a little power nap, or sometimes I just like to listen to certain types of music, or do some breathing, or, just go crash out in the sun for, 10 minutes, feel the warm sun now that we have it. So whatever that is, find out what those things are that mellow you out, and utilize those, especially when you have those marathon days. I know sometimes you have those marathon work days and work and kid days where you need, it's going to be a marathon. So you want to take some breaks, you can't maybe take an hour, but take 10 minutes sometimes, and your brain will reset. You'll get more focused, and you'll be much more relaxed. And that's, once again, keeping that fight or flight system under control. And then number 3 is really kind of going back to number 1, is having that time management system in place to help you manage your time versus your time managing you. So blocking time for what things that are important, building in buffer time, not scheduling yourself to the last minute, so that if one thing gets behind, the whole day's behind. And doing that ahead of time, I know myself, I have found it to be much more effective to really map my schedule either Friday or Saturday for the week that's coming up. So I can kind of just go into my weekend and relax knowing I have next week kind of laid out. And it doesn't mean that that week is going to go smoothly and I don't have to call some audibles, kind of use a football term. But it's really important that if I have a plan and I have time set aside to do things that are important to me or work on things that are big rocks, I know I have that time versus trying to fit it in. And it's just like whenever we say we try to fit something in or we try to show up, we know that it never, ever, ever happens. So get yourself a time management plan and start to map things out as best as you can. I know sometimes our jobs and our lives are unpredictable, but try to do the best you can to really kind of find some time. And that might mean for workouts, getting yourself out of bed early in the morning when you know you're not going to get interrupted. That's what, personally I had to move to, was doing early morning workouts because later in the day my kids have activities and it's, mentally I'm just not as sharp either. So I've actually enjoyed 5:30, 6 a.m. workouts now, when if you'd have told me that years ago, I never would have done that. So yeah, we covered all that, the repair strategies, and now just type in any aha moments you guys might have from these things that we talked about, these 6 points we talked about. Just type in the chat box. So I'll shut my mouth here for a second and just have you guys type in any aha moments. And you can also write in the back of your workbook. I always like to have you guys write something down. There's 3 spots where you can write down, like, what are 3 things maybe you've gotten from this webinar that you would like to do. And what I would do is I'd pick one to really focus on. Trying to focus on changing 3 major habits at once never works. So pick one major one out of the 3 and just kind of maybe put them in order of which one you're going to work on first to second to third. If anybody's ever familiar with Dave Ramsey, you could work on the easiest one to do first just to get some momentum. Or if you're a person like me, knock the hardest one out first so the next 2 are going to go easier. So whichever way works best in your mind, there's no wrong way. So if anybody got any aha moments, go ahead and share them right now. All right, and we're going to move on here. So how getting in shape really is, and this is how anything is, I think. So Brett says more sleep. Good. Yeah, I think that's my hardest one too, Brett, is sleep. I'm such a wired up type A guy that a lot of times I have a hard time, shutting down at night. So sleep is definitely the hardest one for myself too. But man, the more and more you read, the more important it is. So just important here, how getting in shape is. I could probably say getting in shape. Any goal you could fill in the blank here, any worthwhile goal. And I talked about my football story. There was a lot of one step back weeks or times. But any goal I've ever pursued, I know there's a one step back, but too often we let that one step back become our quitting point. I always kind of look at it like, if we're driving on the road and we get a flat tire, we don't just walk away from our car, do we? We fix the tire and move on. And that's really what you want to take, that attitude with the 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Accept that as part of the journey. It's about progress, not perfection. Here's a few case studies of guys I've worked with. Case study here, Scott, 50-year-old mortgage guy, runs a mortgage company, was going to Fitness 19 right by my studio, not really getting great results on his own. He did a kind of a promo with me where I gave him a program back last fall, and he got to the point where he couldn't get past that program, and I spoke at his Rotary, came in and showed him how to strength train, how to do some metabolic finishers, got his nutrition dialed in, and he dropped 5 inches off his waist. He got his body back. He's in the best shape he's probably been in his life. He's squatting and deadlifting weights he's never lifted before, and he's lean and strong and active. He's a 50-year-old guy. So this is just one guy I worked with that was kind of at that same point. I remember him telling me I got more results in 3 months than 3 years. This is Brad. He's a guy about my age, friend of a friend, and was kind of a mountain biker, but kind of a hobbyist mountain biker. But got referred in by his friend who's now, a mutual friend of ours, and he never did really any strength training, and his diet was just really haphazard, and just getting his diet in and getting him doing some of that metabolic strength training we talked about. You can see his body fat went from about 19% down to 9%. So he dropped 10% body fat, and this was just 12 weeks. And that really kind of ticks the women off, but guys, we typically respond a lot better to this stuff than they do. And dealing mostly with women, a lot of women in my practice, that can be really frustrating for them, but we're just wired hormonally better to drop body fat. Steve, who's the guy's a old Delta pilot. He's probably 60 years old, but he had been out skiing, and he had, fell apart on a ski trip, and he was overweight, and he'd been eating Burger King late at night because he was doing training for Delta, similar training. He got some bad habits, and then came around, did some strength training, nutrition with me, and he dropped about 25 pounds, went back out skiing, had his best ski trip ever, extended it by two extra days, and then he actually that same year went out and climbed a 13,000-foot mountain out in Colorado with one of his old Air Force buddies. So it's not just about losing weight, losing the gut. It's about getting yourself into a position where you can be athletic and enjoy things in life that are going to, be memories and big things in life. Like my one client, we talked about did Mount Kilimanjaro. You got to be in physical shape to do those things. And, how often do our physical limitations, limit us to what some of the experiences we could be having in life. So I know we covered a lot of things tonight, and it can feel like drinking from a fire hose, or in this case, a heavy sprinkler. So, I don't want you guys to do paralysis by analysis. That's why I had you write down 3 things you're going to take from this tonight. But when this thing's over and done, there's three directions you can go. And so this kind of looks like when I was in Vietnam, they used to have this used to be a road sign. It was just drive wherever you want. It's kind of chaos, but there's really 3 directions you can go from this point. You can just say, oh, that's some good stuff, but I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to sit on the couch and continue to do what I'm doing, just keep going down the road I'm going until I have to do something, which you're further behind the 8 ball, which I would not recommend that option. Option 2, you could be the Lone Ranger. A lot of people can take and implement things very well on their own. They just need the information. They needed something in the right direction. And that's option 2. Option 3 is you can ask for help. I talked about Coach Moss and my whole football experience, that he made me into a good player, not just a good player, smart player. He taught me how to work smart as an offensive lineman in college. And then I also have a business coach who's also taught me how to be a better business owner, because that's just something I'm not good at. And a lot of people just don't have time to figure these things out. So I always recommend asking for help. I think the smartest people in the world hire people to get them from point A to point B instead of trying to figure it out on their own. And so I just kind of roll out. I have a special 8-week Man Up program, kind of like a battle plan, really. It's just a dress to get rid of body fat and add muscle to get your life back. And if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So, and I drew this up using some of the best stuff I've used on myself and my clients, like you saw there. These are the same routines I've used, and I've modified these out. So you get an 8-week program with 3 structured progressive phases of nutrition and workouts. And then, so you have a plan to follow. That's the biggest thing, is that you have a structured plan to follow. And then you get structured and progressive workouts that are complete with videos and outlines to make it easy to follow. And then what I'm going to be doing is setting up a Facebook group for accountability and support. And then coaching emails weekly with tips and reminders to keep you focused and progressing. And then I'll put together a weekly Facebook Live covering a health and fitness topic, and you can jump on and check in on that for group coaching and accountability. So I realize I got to get some more guys in this, but this is what I'm putting together for guys our age. So I'm going to be rerunning this as a recorded seminar, but I'm going to run another one of these. This is where I'm heading with this. So I think there's a lot of guys out there. We just got to find them that really need something like this. Typically what I do is if you guys want to do this program, I know, Brett, you're working out at our studio right now, but this is a way I can work with somebody online. And we have this, you can go to this link below. It's 8-week Man Up program that I've created. It's just a landing page I've created on it, and you can do it's a quick action takers bonus for $97. If you want to get this, and you might want to shelve it, but we're going to be running this here within the next few weeks. And you can take off and go with it right away if you want to just get going with something. If you're ready to go now, I'm definitely here to help you do that. And then once again, let me go back. So if you guys need to click that link, and if you have any problems with that link, sometimes with a webinar, it doesn't always work, but it's kind of a goofy URL, but that's the link if you want to go check that out. And then, like I promised, basically you get your bonus action gift is a Wolverine workout. You can go to this link here. It's the PDF you download. It should be pretty self-explanatory. It's a 3-week workout, and it's real basic. It's quick. It should only take you 25 or 30 minutes, but I'll tell you what, it's a tough 25 or 30 minutes. So you guys have been on here tonight. I just want to make sure that if you guys have any questions, because I've been talking the whole time, that we actually we respond to them. I can give you guys a lot of information. I know both you guys. So any questions you guys want to type in the chat box, or if you want to just jump on and talk, since we have a small group, that would be cool too.
Hey, Eric, it's Brett.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, no, I'm interested in continuing on with all of this, and we kind of had talked when we were at the, I guess it was last night, and just kind of what to do
Yep.
next after the jump start. And so these
Yep.
sound
I
like
sent you an email on that too today, what that would look. There's some options I put for you and Lori. So yeah, that is in there. So I did
okay.
actually send you an email, so you can check that out too. But um, yes, Randy, I can send you the links via email. I know they don't always work. I'm still trying to iron out some of the technology, so I'm glad I got a couple guys I know on here
Yeah,
to
no,
kind of make me.
I tried to click those two. It didn't work for me either.
All right. Yeah, it's hard for me to check it. I know Tracy said they weren't working. We did a practice run today, but we'll get them. I'll figure out a way to get them working. I love technology, but yeah, we can do some of this stuff. Going forward, and you can look at that because you're trained at the studio. But some of this is a reiterate of what you started last night, but some of it's geared more towards men, obviously. The testosterone thing and some of these other things too. So, but yeah, I think it's just good. It's probably good you heard some of the stuff that you heard last night, but you heard some different stuff here tonight too as well.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
and definitely like that. One of the things I would say is if you want me to set you up with one of those goal binders, I can show you what that looks like too. I've got them set up at the studio, so you can get one because you come in the studio. So, and then Randy, I can send you the links. But if you guys don't have any specific questions, you guys can always email me, or you guys both have my cell number too. You guys both know me pretty well. But other than that, I'll let you guys get back to your night, and thank you for being on. I hope this was time well spent. And I will follow up with both you guys. And thanks for being on here for our inaugural run. But yeah, get this going. And if you have any friends maybe that are out of state or something, that you feel might benefit, let them know about this because I'll put up a rerun of it too. I'm recording it so they can jump on there and then if they want to do some, if they want to get some online training too, which a lot of trainers are going into, this is a way for me to work with somebody that maybe isn't local too as well. So
Sounds good.
all right, guys, have a good night, and I will let you guys go. And like I said, reach out if you have any questions. Talk to you later.
Thanks, Eric.